Okay, now we are going to practice the snap commands with drawing of this object. This is a condenser. Um, it's typically used for refrigeration systems for HVAC. And let's just go ahead and use a front view design to practice some of the snap commands. All right, so the first thing is that we're gonna try to draw the view right here. So we can start with a rectangle. And actually, let's go ahead and do a new layer. So depending on how you have situated your commands, your tabs, if you go to this tab right here, you're gonna get something called property layers. And then right here, we know by now this is a new layer, and this is gonna be references. Okay, let's do references with another layer that would be annotations, and maybe do another layer that would be objects. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with objects. We'll do our rectangle, and the rectangle, let's say, they don't give us any units, but we can say it will be um, around this big. And let's see, that is 34, 14. Yeah, that's good, around 15 inches. Okay, then let's go ahead and try to do this offset right here. So we know by now that when you select type offset here and go out, that's good. Okay, that would be this. Now let's do orifices. So right click enter, and then let's do a circle, and we're gonna type, well, actually let's do we want to do the circle in the same position everywhere. So let's go to references and create a line, type line, and under your snap tools have endpoint, midpoint, and node. Yeah, let's have endpoint, midpoint, center, geometrical center, because we'll need it for the circle, node, which is, that is a node, quadrant, which will help us determine the end of the shape, intersection, in case we need to trim something. So let's use those points right there. So escape, type line, select this point, and you should be able to get an endpoint and a straight line, which is a reference. Okay. Now right click, repeat line, or simply type line, and get one at the center point. And at the center point, if we want to do the center point, we will have to do something else. I apologize. So let's do line from here to here, do a trim, select this object, enter, this object, enter. Okay. Now, if we do line again, we can do the center point. There you go. This is the center point, midpoint. Okay. And now this line could be, well, we have two options. Either try to find a random place on this line to put a circle, or if we want the midpoint of this line, then we're gonna have to do another trim. and the trim was going to be with reference to this, enter, and cut that, enter. Okay, so in this case we can do a circle, which is going to be in the middle portion of this line, right there. And I like that distance. Okay, but let's take that circle to objects. So double click on objects, make sure that the check mark is on top of the layer. Let's do the circle option again and place it on top of the midpoint. 0.04. Okay. Enter. Okay, good. So now the beautiful thing, the good thing about this is that we can select all this to copy, select this endpoint, and take it to this point. Get rid of the ortho mode. Come to this point. Okay, and then at this point, what we need to do is escape, select that, and type near. Get your ortho mode again, select this point, and extend to the right. Erase the objects, yes. Escape, select that, copy, choose this point, and take it to this endpoint. All right, now we have the circles. Okay, good, good. The next thing is that on this side and that side we have the coil, the refrigerant. So for that part, let's do another layer, which we're gonna call coil. And let's see if we have a way to change the color on this coil property. Let's see. Yep. So this one will be orange, yellow, orange. Okay. So if we take a line and extend it from here to here, that line is 10.56. Okay, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but let's say we're gonna do our own coil. Gonna have 6. So what we wanna do now right here is do a line from here to here, 0.5, half an inch, enter. Then we're gonna do an arc, but what type of arc? We have the start and radius, the start center angle. Let's do start and radius. Okay, so come to this endpoint on top of your coil layer. Endpoint, that's the start. At point 3, let's go ahead and do that again. Start and radius. Start. Let's do 0.25. And how big do we want it? Maybe like so. Okay, we have our coil. Yeah, it's going to be a micro channel condenser. So check the object, do offset, that one, enter. So let's do it again. Offset, check the midpoint, extend, enter. All right. So that will be the thickness of this coil. But actually that's for refrigerant, so I think we should do a larger thickness. Let's do it again, just because we want to be more realistic. Let's do that thickness. Select. All right. We have one issue right here, and that is that it's not extended all the way. So let's extend that. And let's extend this following the, there you go. Okay, now we're gonna have to do a trim of this line, enter that line. Select the orange line though. Okay, and then we do a trim of this orange line, enter, with this line, enter, and another trim of this line, enter, that line, enter. All right. So now we can use this to separate our coil. Select that and the orange line and do copy. And how does that look? Yes, that looks pretty good. Copy. And copy. Make sure you have the endpoint of the arc. Copy. Or better yet, paste. I still have the copy and paste option. So paste, paste, paste. Okay, so that's one way to do it. Another one would be an array. So let's try an array next. Paste. 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 End section, paste. And that's good. All right. Let's try to do it here with an array. So I want to take the same object and do a copy. I have two options, copy, rotate, or do a mirror. And let's try do a mirror. Okay, so if I select these two objects and I type mirror, which is another command that is very useful, then the only thing I have to do is to find the midpoint of this object, like so. Okay, now I have a mirror. I want to erase the, no, I don't want to erase the base object. All right, so now let's go ahead and do an array. So array, and do we want to be a polar or circle, a path, rectangular like a matrix? Let's do a path. So select path is this. That's not gonna work because we would have to, yeah, we will have to get independently the curves that we want. We have 4 paths. So let's not do an array. Actually, the mirror option was the best operation right here because we simply have to select all those objects in a mirror. Will make sure that we have the same distance. Problem with path, polar or an array on the path is then we have to specify this distance, and it's not going to be exactly the same because we're not following a drawing. We're just making this design. And when you're designing something like we are, you have to choose the tool that is going to work the best. In this case, mirror will work very nice. Don't get rid of the base. Okay, good. All right, so now we have the coil. One thing that I want to do is go ahead and select that object. Right click, you're going to see why in a minute. Isolate, and we're going to do hide objects. Okay, why? Because I want to get rid of these lines that I used for my distance. I should have used a reference line, but I didn't. So now we're just going to get rid of these lines because we don't need to have them connected since we're not going to do a single object. Okay. All right, to show the object again, you go here to isolate objects and end object isolation. Cool, we have it right here. So let's go ahead and save the file at this point and continue. So if you look at the picture, yeah, there are other things that we need to worry about. So there's this part right here to mount it, and there are other objects here, but really what I want to focus on is the coil portion. So let's go ahead and do this. We have two options. Let's copy this whole thing, and let's try two options to draw the technical specifications of it. So let's go ahead and draw, let's do another layer. Let's create another layer. I'm going to say the mesh. And this layer is going to have we're going to need the thickness of the line to be, yeah, we want it to be continuous. We want it to be, let's say 0.09 millimeters. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and try our line. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do at a distance of, so let's go to reference line first. Type line and 0.15. All right, enter. Now when we go to our mesh, select that layer, repeat line, we're going to find the endpoint of this line, which is right here. Okay. Just to make sure we have it, go across, enter, then we can do a trim and use this trimmer for this line. All right, we got it. Okay, so if you notice, this line was more or less, actually, I didn't do it right because I didn't need to use that baseline now that I think about it. Let's use this line right here to get rid of it and type line. So what we want to do is choose this line and go straight. Enter. Yep, that's good. Okay, now what we do is trim using that boundary, and enter to get rid of this portion and this portion. Enter. And obviously this portion right here is free, so we can cut it. Okay, so if you notice, this line is going from here to here. So what we want to do is do the same operation, but now we're going to do it from here. Enter. All right, and then we trim. And again, we select this portion and this portion, enter. Get rid of that, get rid of this, enter, or right click, enter. Select that, delete. Okay, so now we can select these two, copy. With ortho mode selected, we simply make sure that they're connected there. We have an issue there. Copy. We make sure that they are aligned. There you go. where they're aligned with our coil, and okay. All right, so that's good. And we won't do the whole thing because we're gonna show details with a section. All right. Okay. So let's go ahead and do the mesh lines. So now for that, we go to line. Well, let's rename this to internal coil, and let's create a new layer that's going to be mesh, and this layer is going to be black. Okay, so now we do our line from a reference point. Click on reference line, reference layer, I'm sorry, and go 0.15. Yep, enter. So in there, go back to, when you're there, go back to your mesh line. We're gonna type line. And when you find the end of your layer, yep, enter. Okay. And actually, let's trim this. Escape, all right. Okay, so as you noticed, if we do a mesh, an array around that rectangular shape is going to take us, is going to do an array of each, is going to create an array from each line, and we have 4 lines. So from reference line, select that. Let's go ahead and do another line. And this time we're going to create a line from this point to this point. Enter. Okay, go back to your mesh. Select that layer and select your line. Now we're going to do array. And we're going to select a path. And we're going to select the line instead of the polyline. Okay. All right. So they're asking us how many items we want. So right now we have 1 row. It's 1 inch in between. So we can start changing these details. So we only want 1 row, level 1. So if we change this distance to 0.5, you have that many. If you change that for 0.25, you have that many. Okay, let's try that. So enter, and that's as simple as that. Okay. All right, now let's go ahead and select this coil portion, copy, and let's do copy, select these 4 things, only the coil, not the mesh line, enter, and again try to create a straight line from your coil radius, enter. Okay, so we have 2 options: leave it like that, or what we can do is make something a little more interesting. We can let me think about this. Actually, we have what we need. We don't need to do that. All right, so first of all, let's create a a line, horizontal line to create the mesh. We haven't done that. So on top of the reference line, we're going to type line. Make sure we're selecting the reference line as our layer. Endpoint, enter. Now go back to your mesh, select that, and we're going to select a line that is going to be, well, we haven't finished yet. We have to find a line that is going to be 0.15. All right, and then straight across. Enter. Okay, good. So let's trim that line so we don't have to worry about it later. Enter. Okay. And then we simply get rid of this black line. Then we're gonna select an array. We're gonna create an array where the only thing we're gonna do is, actually, let's get rid of, or not get rid, let's just go, no, I don't want to get rid of them, but I just want to hide some of these layers right here. So let's hide that. Okay, that will make it a little easier. All right, so let's do array and object line, enter, path, select curve, this line. All right, so distance in between, we're gonna have 0.025. No, that will be a little too much. 0.25. A number of total row distance. All right, spacing, total row distance. Items. Let's see, how many are those? What is the distance of this line? Was it? Let's do a dimension, quick dimension. Let's check this line. Quick dimension line. Enter. This is 10.07. All right, so that will take us somewhere. So select this line, type array, path, select path, and then we're going to have a base point here, and then we're gonna have what is items, specify distance between items. We're gonna have a distance of 0.25, 41. All right, so that's the array. However, we didn't trim this, so we need to do that. So let's do a trim. Enter. So we just simply have to select all that. We simply have to select all this region right here. Yep. I should have done it before I did the trim. I mean the array, but I forgot. Enter. What about here? Yes, I need to trim those two. All right, cool. Okay, so now I can show my layer again. And what I want to do is select layout. Yeah, that's okay. Where I am able to show my details. Yeah, okay. So let's go back here and let's work on the um, annotation for the details so that I don't have to draw every single. I could draw all the coils, but for a manufacturing drawing, all you need to do is create under reference, or actually under annotation. I can do that. Select the layer, do circle somewhere here that it will be big enough to show both layers, and then I'm gonna do a trim and selecting the circle, enter. I'm gonna select that, this line, that, this, and that line. I think you're gonna see what I'm gonna do here in a minute. Select those coil lines. All right, and then select the coil lines here. Okay, all right. Now select the mesh line inside. That one, that one. It's not letting me select that one. I'm not sure why. I have to come back and redo it. That one. Anything else? Yeah, there are a few more lines here. So select object, enter that and this. Okay, so don't forget that the grid right here is not from the mesh, it's from the grid that I use on Illustrator. So actually that shows me that I still need to trim this line here. Select the circle, enter, trim that, enter. Okay, perfect. Oh no, there's something wrong here. I selected let's type line under mesh. And then, okay. I need to redo that line because I got rid of it. So trim here, there, and another trim here, and there, enter. Okay, now let's go back to my model. And now what I can do is create my annotations. So go to annotations and do a multilateral, and we're going to type the following. We're going to type well, I don't know, we can do different things. Actually, careful here because annotation is a different layer. So go to annotation, good, and type, get rid of your ortho option, and here we're gonna type copper coil, I don't know, with 0.2 diameter. Okay, so whatever annotations you need to put, then you can actually, if you need to, you can have a dimension between this line and this line. Okay, if you need to. So you see that you start seeing the concept, right? You create a annotation in a section like that. Then you can put more annotations. So here you can put what other annotations you can put? This could be, let's see. Say this is technical drawing for performance. So you can say use refrigerant R22. All right, things like that. Okay, so let's create this part in your model that you're going to create. Obviously, at the end, you can get rid of your reference lines, right? And you can get rid of all those other lines that are going to be interfering with your model. So I can see that I was not very careful with what lines to use as my reference lines. And that's part of the cleaning up process.